Hello everyone, this is Shamsi Decoded. I am your host, Sophia Turner. I welcome you all back to a new episode. I will be doing a follow-up on Miss Fani Willis, who is the DA, District Attorney in Fulton County, Georgia. She had a hearing in referencing whether or not she should remain on former President Donald Trump's election interference case. Judge Scott McAfee decided to let her stay in charge of to prosecute this case in Georgia. The judge also granted, though, Mr. Donald Trump and his allies a way for them to appeal the decision that was made in this particular case, with Fani Willis remaining on his election interference case. So he has a chance to appeal it, but as it stands right now, Ms. Fani Willis is still in charge of his case. But she either had to remove Mr. Wade from the case or she stepped down. That was the judge's decision. So, as it turns out, Mr. Nathan Wade, he decided to step down from the case. So he's no longer a part of Mr. Trump's case. And so, I mean, what y'all think of that? I mean, I know a lot of folks have negative views on Miss Fani Willis. Some made statements referencing that they believe that she was caught in certain lies while throughout this hearing process. I don't know her personally. I don't know whether she was lying or whether she was not lying. I didn't follow the case that closely, but from what I see, it was insufficient evidence to prove that that it was a conflict of interest, because that's what Donald Trump's defense attorneys stated, and that's the whole point of this, was because they believed that it was a conflict of interest due to Miss Willis and Mr. Wade had a romantic involvement with each other while this case was in progress, as far as Mr. Trump's case, as well as his allies. So that's the whole point of this. But the judge stated that he said it was insufficient evidence to support a conflict of interest, but it did create a look of impropriety that needed to be addressed. So that's why Mr. Wade had to be removed from the case. Conflicts of interest, generally, or impartiality. This is what it says. That's what this means. It says, no officer or employee shall perform or fail to perform any official act on a matter in which the officer or employee knows or reasonably should know they have an interest that may be affected. So that's why the conflict of interest portion was thrown out, because it was insufficient evidence to prove that it was a conflict of interest. So yeah, but impropriety, yes, because as I said before, me personally, if I would have been the head DA on this case, and this is definitely a big case with a powerful figure, he was the former president of the United States. So, all eyes definitely would have been on this case, far as following this case and see where it goes, see what evidence is brought out, to substantiate or in support Donald Trump even being taken to court in reference to election interference. So I do agree that to me, in my opinion, it was some form of impropriety, the look of impropriety because of this. But because I wouldn't suggest she have done it. If you want to have any romantic involvements with anyone, it should not be with someone who you're working with. When it comes down to you giving them positions in your in your cases, it's because it just doesn't look right. So I do agree with the judge, Mr. Judge McAfee, on that level of impropriety. Um, Donald Trump, to me, as I said, it does not negate any evidence that maybe she had to support why he was being brought, these allegations was being brought up against him in the first place. Why he had this court case. Now that's because of all this going on. All of that is on hold far as his election interference case because of all this personal stuff that was brought up against Miss Fani Willis. So that's why she should have, being the smart and intelligent woman that she is, she should thought better of her getting involved or having someone on any of her cases where she's giving them, as they say, nepotism, because that can be deemed a form of nepotism if they was already involved prior to her even making that decision to put him on as a special counsel on this court case for Donald Trump. So, we know how nepotism is. Nepotism always been, and it always will be and will continue to be. Even Mr. Donald Trump had nepotism when it came down to him being the president of the United States. Look, he hired his son-in-law and his daughter. They was, working in the White House with him. So we understand what nepotism is. So the look of impropriety, which is just crazy that's definitely a blatant look of impropriety if you ask me when it comes down to that. But okay, sometimes, some people are being treated differently than others. And that's always been the case here in these United States. So, but as I said, any evidence that she had against Mr. Trump in reference to election interference. Now I know, they had a recording of him on the phone and making, statements to find certain counts that he need in order for him to win the Georgia election. It's other evidence that they have to even, to bring that they have against them. So, like I said, I understand that the look of impropriety was here, and now some people may see her differently because of this, and that's not good. This is my opinion. That's not good because you're supposed to be making sure that you, as the head counsel on this case or any case, is doing everything you can to make sure everything is being done the way it's supposed to be done. Everything is on the up and up. You don't have nothing going on in your closet to support anything that can come out against you, that can make sway anyone else's opinion on whether or not you should be the one in charge of any case. It's an honor system. It's you have to have honor. You have to have trust. You have to be honest. And we know that's subjective to some people. Which you may deem as being honest, it may not be what I deem as being honest. But you should be very transparent in everything that you do. It shouldn't be no hidden things or hidden agendas behind it. If this is what you say he did, and this is the evidence you have to support what him and his allies has done, then let that stand on its own, and don't bring no negative light to what it is that you're trying to do. You're trying to, prosecute someone who you think should be prosecuted because of them doing something illegal. That's the transparency of it. But you shouldn't have allow for yourself to be put in a position where others now, people, in these communities that, have, they doubt, you being involved in the case because of your impropriety. I mean, it is what it is. So all I can say is, I hope you learn your lesson, Miss Willis, in reference to this. Think, always thoroughly think through whatever it is that you're trying to pursue and you're trying to do before you put your stamp on it, because others are going to be looking and watching and waiting. That's just how it is. That's just the way of the world, and especially when you have brown skin, black skin, brown skin. We just look. We're more criticized, and that's just the way that it is in these United States. I'm sorry to say, but it is what it is. We're more scrutinized, criticized, scrutinized, whatever you want to call it. We looked at in a more negative light than our white counterparts or others. I'm just being honest, and these are my opinions. I have a right to my opinion, and that's just how I feel. So let's try to do things the right way next time. Make everything more transparent. No hidden agendas, no hidden figures, nothing, no romantic things going on in your background that can hinder your case in any way. Because it shouldn't be about what's going on in your personal life. Your life is your life. You can live your life. You're supposed to be happy while living. And you should be able to live it the way you choose to live it. That's the whole point of being free. But you do have to also take into account when you take on a new position, any position of uh, a higher position where others going to critique you, and they're going to look at you and they're going to think that, okay, what can they find? What do they see that's can blemish who you are, who your character is? And you may not be a bad person at all, far from it, but you may not even think that what you have done is deceitful, but others may view it as that. So you got to stay on the up and up and do what you think is necessary for yourself and for your team and for your case, because your case is numero uno when it comes down to you making sure that you do yourself, you do everything. Let's say do the state justice, because by her being the district attorney for the state of Georgia in Fulton County. So yes, do yourself justice when it comes down to you making sure you have morals and values, and you have honesty, and you are transparent, and you have integrity. And I'm not trying to say that she doesn't have none of these things, because I see her as a person who do. She's very proud. She's a very proud woman. When I watched her on the stand for those 2 hours, I would say she was a very proud woman. And yes, some would say that she was a little ghetto in how she was acting. If you want to say what ghetto is, what is ghetto? Meaning that she wasn't acting in a more respectful manner because of her attitude. She had an attitude being on a stand. And I understand, because when your integrity is being called out, your pride step in. Your pride step up, and it shows. And you may have a little attitude with it, because who are you to say that I am this when I know who I am? And I think that's what it is when it came down to her. Well, that's just my interpretation. You can call it for what it is. I know a lot of folks may not agree, but that's just my interpretation of who Miss Fani Willis is. She is a proud woman who loves who she is. She comes from good stock, being, raised by, to me, in my opinion, a strong black man. He raised her to have, her outlook on life is a lot due to how she was raised, so, and she made it to the position she had for a reason. She was in that DA position, and she still is in that DA position for a reason, because she worked hard to get there. So let's not take that away from her. Let's not defame her from that, because she's earned the right to be there, I'm sure. Her pedigree is it definitely is a stamp on why she's in that position. And it is what it is. So she's a proud person. So yes, she went there with an attitude. Yes, she had that black girl attitude. I'm sorry. Because when you called out and, for something that that you did your best to do right with, and someone trying to question who you are as a person, you have every right to defend yourself. And that's what, in my opinion, she was doing. You may not like it. You may not care for it. You may think that she should have went about it differently. But that's your opinion. Your opinion is your opinion, and mine is just what it is. So, she chose to go about it the way she went about it. It is what it is. I'm sorry to say, but that's just how it is. That's life. We all have our own ways on how we look at life and how we see life and how we live life and how we interact and, how we do. And, we don't have right to judge no one else, but she put herself in a position where she's going to be judged because that's the position that she took. That's the position that she holds. So she will be judged. So I hope that she learned lessons from this, as we all should, when things come out, and it may come out in a negative way, and that's not how you meant it to be, but that's just how it is. So you got to learn from it and grow from it and become better because of it. So that's my thoughts when it comes down to Fani Willis. And like I said, when it comes down to former President Donald Trump, if he is guilty, then he need to be prosecuted. She must have some evidence to support why he's being prosecuted. So let's not forget that. This is Charm C Decoded. I'm your host, Sophina Turner, and I bid you all a good day.